Hi everybody, Alan from Newlands Pets, and this video is about all the options you have when feeding raw. Raw, a lot of people think of just a bit of raw meat, done. It's slightly more complicated than that, and there's options within it. I'd say there's let's say 3.5 options, and I'll explain why in a second. So you've got the complete ranges. So a complete range in our view is something and it's going to vary from brand to brand, is something about 80% meat. You've normally got 10% bone in there, 10% offal, 10% fruit and veg. Now, a lot of people don't want fruit and veg in there, which is personal preference, and it would depend on what your dog says, basically. If they specifically need a little bit more fibre in there, sometimes the fruit and veg is helpful. So that brings you to the second option. So the 80-10-10 type feeding, which is often known as prey model. It's known by lots of different things, but you'll see on the packet it often says 80-10-10. It's a prey model type feeding. The main difference between the complete feeding and the 80-10-10 is that there's no fruit and veg in there. Sometimes they put botanics and stuff like that in there, but generally speaking, we talk about no fruit and veg in there. And then the last option is probably the one that's been going the most, and that is DIY raw feeding. It is what it sounds like it is. So if you look at this packet here, it is just beef chunks. So if you want to feed it, you'll be feeding some beef chunks, you'll be feeding a little bit of liver in there, a bit of offal in there. You'll maybe putting fruit and veg in there. Then you've got to work out how much bone you want to put in there. Sometimes that can come from chicken wings or something like that. Now, all of these options we can talk you through. So let's talk, I said 3.5 types of feeding. Then you've got something very specific. So that is freeze-dried. There's more and more freeze-dried on the market now, and lots of people do class it as raw. So it still maintains a lot of the nutrients. It's obviously a lot more convenient. Whether you class it as raw, it's personal preference, to be honest, but it sort of falls within that category. So that's why I'm saying 3.5 different types of options. Like I said, with all these options, there's brands within them. Everyone has different recipes, as you'd expect. Everyone uses different protein sources, maybe different amounts of bone. So it's finding the one that works for you. But that's your 3.5 types of options when feeding raw.